goblins, ingratiating goblins, in bed with a goblin. I don't want to see him. Kissing goblins, ingratiating goblins, in bed with a goblin. Dump it. Charging into a goblin's nest, some goblin vomit and slop and blood on it.
Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to the channel. Google Stadia is something that I bet most of you haven't spent a lot of time thinking about recently, and honestly, I can't blame you. It's not like they're really making any positive waves in the gaming industry. I mean, it's still pretty much a laughingstock. I kind of put it on the same level as something like the Wii U or the Ouya. I mean, granted, the Stadia is still around, so at least it has that going for it, right? Do you remember the Ouya? That little weird game box that was supposed to be moddable or customizable? It was that company run by that really crazy woman, and when it came out it was so bad that somebody actually filmed themselves throwing it in the toilet and peeing on it. It's a real interesting endeavor. I'm talking about the Ouya itself, not the whole peeing on it. I'm spending too much time talking about this guy peeing on the Ouya.
Our controller has a touchpad. You're not going to find that somewhere else. And the reality is...
The new PlayStation 4 controller has a touchpad.
That's true. They could build it for that.
So
there's a reason why the Stadia really hasn't been in the spotlight, and that's because it's really just not that great of a product. The idea was interesting, streaming games, but the way that they're going about it is completely foolish. You have a game system that's supposed to let you stream from a huge library of games, which, as it turns out, isn't really all that huge, and you're spending full retail price for those games. And guess what? You don't even own those games. You are paying to rent a license from Google. With a very rocky launch of the Stadia, with it missing features, not having a large pool of games to choose from, and a lot of misinformation out there about which kind of pre-order package you had. There was like a Pro Edition and a Standard Edition. There was just a lot wrong with that launch. But what really doesn't help a company dig itself out of a hole, not that Google's really in that big of a hole, but I'm talking about the Stadia specifically, what doesn't help is when you have a creative team and a creative lead who doesn't understand the industry. This leads us to the subject of today's video, Alex Hutchinson, who is the creative director for Google Stadia. Oh, wait a minute. Is he the creative director of Google Stadia? Because it seems like he has recently taken that out of his Twitter bio, but for some reason it's still on his LinkedIn profile. I wonder if he did anything that made him want to cover up the fact that he is the creative director of Google Stadia. Or maybe he did something so idiotic, so unbelievably stupid, that Google themselves said, we need to put some breathing room between you and us because you right now are not good for us. Kind of like what my ex said about me. You may know Alex from his work on a game called Savage Planet. He was also involved with Far Cry 4 and the Assassin's Creed franchise. And what I found interesting was that he has actually worked with companies obviously like Ubisoft and Electronic Arts, which really isn't that much of a surprise to me, and it won't be that much of a surprise to you once I show you what he said that got him in hot water on Twitter recently. It all came together. It started to make sense. It was a beautiful picture. When I say beautiful picture, it was kind of like a nightmarish hellscape, but it gave me a whole new context to why Alex thinks the way that he does when it comes to content creators and streamers and the relationship that they have with publishers and developers. You see, he has this really ass-backwards kind of logic where he thinks that people that have business contracts, like being given games to stream or create content for early, should in fact have to pay a tax of some sort in order to stream that game or in order to make content for that game, even though companies gave those specific content creators access to those games so that they can promote it, that they can make content and show it off to the widest audience possible. Hell, I mean, this even extends to people that have paid for the game. That's right, if you've already bought and paid for a game, you need to pay a streamer tax. You need to pay the YouTuber fee in order to use that gameplay in your content. Well, at least that's the world that Alex wants to live in. Alex recently took to Twitter and shared his incredibly ridiculous and out of touch idea. The first tweet from Alex that we're going to be taking a look at reads as follows. Streamers worried about getting their content pulled because they used music they didn't pay for should be more worried by the fact that they're streaming games they didn't pay for as well. It's all gone as soon as publishers decide to enforce it. Now take a minute to process that, because I know when I read that out to you, you paused, you said, wait a minute, Mando, that doesn't make any sense. That sounds a little retarded, if I'm being honest. I get it, viewer, I completely understand, but no. Sadly, Alex was being 100% serious because he doubled down, and we're going to be covering that shortly, don't you worry. First, I want to highlight that little veiled threat. It's all gone as soon as publishers decide to enforce it. You better listen to me from Google Stadia because Google's gonna take your content down.
Are you threatening me?
Well, come to think about it, they will do that. Google, YouTube, we kind of see that all the time, but it was a little bit different. And I would also say that the games industry is very different from the music industry and from the film and television industry. Games is an interactive medium. You don't really get the full experience of a game unless you play it yourself. Now, I'm no legal expert. Sid Alpha actually did a really good video where he dives more into the legality when it comes to copyright infringement. I would highly recommend checking out that video. And as you can tell by the ratio on this tweet, 5,000 comments to 7.9 thousand likes, that's really not that bad. But where Alex really just completely goes off the rails is this second tweet. Alex goes on to say, the real truth is streamers should be paying the developers and publishers of the games they stream. They should be buying a license like any real business and paying for the content they use.
Come on, man.
Like, where do I even start with this one? Let me reiterate something that I brought up a little bit earlier. You have companies that would give anything for a streamer to pick up their game or for a content creator to pick up their game and play it in front of hundreds or thousands or hundreds of thousands or millions of people. That is the dream for game developers because it just gives you so much exposure. I mean, think about games like Amnesia, Dark Descent, and PewDiePie's playthrough, or Ninja when he's playing Fortnite. Games like Among Us, Fall Guys, or Minecraft, games that blew up thanks to content creators and streamers. I mean, hell, Among Us came out years ago and nobody cared about that game until streamers and content creators started playing the game in front of others, showing people that the game's fun, and then everyone wants to hop on that bandwagon and use it to create content themselves, which further exposes the game, which means people are buying into it. And don't just take my word for this. There is a content creator in this thread that has some pretty embarrassing news for Alex, if I'm being honest. It is pretty bad that Alex, who's supposedly, I do believe that he is the creative lead with Google Stadia. I think he's just trying to hide that now. But for him not to know this is just insanely embarrassing. A massive content creator who I'm not personally familiar with, Dan TDM, responded to Alex and said, "Terrible take. The amount of exposure streamers and YouTubers give to games just by playing them is worth major dollars by itself. Some games only market through influencers now because it's so strong and works. You're also creative director at Stadia. Stadia literally paid me and many others to promote their product. Oh my God." Alex, get a grip over there, man. I don't know what you're doing. Stadia's just flopping around like a fish out of water. It's dying, man. It needs to get back to the ocean. You need to do your job. And here's the thing. People that already bought the game don't need a license in order to create content for it and to stream it. Google or whatever company doesn't own the streams and the videos that these content creators are making. And as it turns out, surprise, surprise, Alex is a bit of a hypocrite himself. Because he only talks about people buying licenses to things like any real business, mind you, only when it applies to others, but not to him. That's right, he can use content from others without paying a licensing fee. I guess that's okay. Alex, would you care to explain why, if you just happen upon this video by any chance? just let us know why you think it's okay for you to do it, but not others. We need to line your pockets, but others? Nah, they could just go kick rocks. Screw them, am I right? If you take a look at Alex's Twitter profile here, you'll notice a banner, and it features a popular content creator, Jacksepticeye, if you haven't heard of him. It's kind of surprising, especially if you're on YouTube. But then again, you're probably above the age of 10, so I'm just kidding. I actually like Jack, but whatever. It's besides the point. Jack replied to Alex and said, I find this thinking extremely ironic considering you have fan art of me, a streamer, as your banner when I played Savage Planet. Not only that, Jack goes on for the final nail in the coffin, the little cherry on top here. You even cropped out the artist watermark in the banner and you haven't given them credit for it anywhere. Very hypocritical. Oh, funny how that works out. Rules for thee, but not for me. That's always how it goes, right, ladies and gentlemen? And it doesn't end there. More high-profile people started piling on to this. You had the OK Boomer Girl weighing in on this with her hot tweet, her hot take. This opinion is doo-doo. I agree. And you had the man, the myth, the legend himself, Boogie2988, coming in with some tweets, which I found really funny. The first one, not so much, but the second one was pretty great. The first one reads, Sir, I respect you and we have spoken before, but this is a terrible take for many reasons. Educate yourself, damn. The second tweet, also, holy shit, dude, if I ratio you here, then you are seriously because I am one of the most hated people on the internet. And he is not wrong there. I mean, Alex, you really stepped in it. When Boogie's got the positive ratio on Twitter, something's wrong, dude. I mean, it's between Boogie and Ethan Klein. If either one of those two men have people backing them over you, you really need to take a step back and reevaluate your position because you took a wrong turn somewhere, my friend. So how did Alex decide to wrap up this whole situation? Well, he tweeted this out. Anyway, gonna hop online and stream some Fall Guys. Who's up for it? And judging by that ratio, Alex, I'd have to say not that many people are up for it. Now let me ask you, this is very important. Did you get the special streamer's license in order to stream that game, Alex? Did you give the Fall Guys developers more money so that you can produce content, so that you could promote only yourself and not the game to your followers and your subscribers? Did you give them more money, as all real businesses should? Or are you guilty of what you're claiming other streamers and content creators do soullessly and wrongfully profiting off of the work of others, even though those content creators, those streamers are in fact creating content for others, entertaining others, but no, apparently they're just thieves, dirty, no good, rotten thieves who are just stealing money away from developers by promoting their games. I mean, really, that's the core of Alex's argument here. I have to just think there's no way he actually believes that because his line of logic is games developers and game publishers don't want their games being showed. Absolutely not. But under no circumstances will some dirty streamer, some filthy content creator show off our games. No, no, no. They have to pay us more money, even though we gave them access to the game, even though we gave them a key and told them, here, create content, show off our games to your audiences, but also you owe us a tax. You have to buy a license. I mean, the levels of stupidity and greed on display here is mind-boggling to me. And do you remember how I talked about EA and Ubisoft and how Alex was involved with those companies? Well, maybe now you can see why I said what I did earlier in the video. Maybe Alex just picked up some bad habits from those companies, or perhaps he really does believe this and is just a greedy person himself. Not only greedy, but incredibly ignorant to how important the relationship between streamers, content creators, games developers, and game publishers is. What content creators and streamers do for the games industry is immeasurable. Bringing in new players to games who might otherwise never have picked it up. I would never have tried out Escape from Tarkov without streamers like Slush Puppy or a Rocktick. Without watching their streams, I would never have played that game. And I know I am not alone there. I understand it's anecdotal, but there are people just like me, just like you probably, that see games and somebody that you like playing it and you say, hey, maybe I should try that out. That looks kind of fun. Alex's line of thinking here is deeply flawed and shows his complete misunderstanding and mischaracterization of how content creators and streamers behave. And I don't know if he's being willfully ignorant here or if he just truly believes this. And I know people from Google are well aware of this situation because they have publicly come out to put distance between them and Alex. I mean, let's take a look at this quote from an article over at gamesindustry.biz. A spokesperson from Google responded to this situation by saying, "The recent tweets by Alex Hutchinson do not reflect those of Stadia, YouTube, or Google." You have another tweet from the same article that reads, "Meanwhile, Google's global head of gaming for YouTube, Ryan Wyatt, tweeted, 'We believe that publishers and creators have a wonderful symbiotic relationship that has allowed a thriving ecosystem to be created, one that mutually benefited everybody. YouTube is focused on creating value for creators, publishers, and users. All ships rise when we work together.'" Okay, I don't really believe that last part because YouTube's kind of full of crap themselves, but that's besides the point. The first part of that quote, incredibly true. Streamers, content creators, and these publishers and developers have an excellent symbiotic relationship with one another. And as Alex has shown us, this is a very delicate balance because you have people like Alex over at companies like EA and Activision who want to take advantage of those streamers and those content creators, and who will apparently vaguely threaten them by saying, we could just snap our fingers, it'd be a it'd be a Thanos snap and your content is gone, your channel is shut down, all of that content is erased. All in all, this is not a good look for Alex. It's not a good look for Google, especially when they're trying to lift Stadia up. I mean, they're getting beaten down into the dirt by things like xCloud. I don't know how they're really going to survive that one, but this certainly does not help them at all. And they have nobody to blame but themselves. I don't understand why these companies decide to put these kinds of people in charge of major projects and products who clearly have either no knowledge or an open disdain for their communities, content creators, streamers, and really, I mean, gamers in general. It's really odd. I just hope that Google learns their lesson here. I hope that Alex rethinks some of this, but hey, they're his opinions. He has a complete right to them. Just like everybody has a right to roast the living hell out of this man on Twitter. It is well deserved, my friend. And that's all I have for today's video. I hope you all enjoyed it. As always, I want to know what you think about all of this. Do you agree with our friend Alex here? Should gamers pay the big gaming tax, the Twitch streaming tax? Or do you think content creators have a very good balance with developers and publishers? Let me know down in the comments below. As always, if you liked the video, don't forget to drop a like, and if you really want to support this channel, hit the subscribe button and be sure to turn on all notifications with that little bell icon so you get notified of all of my future videos. If you want to prove that you are in fact a true 10 out of 10 alpha grill gamer, don't forget to join the Discord, MGM Mother Base. Link for that is going to be in the description below. And a new plug, ladies and gentlemen, that's right, we're gonna keep on going. I started streaming over on Twitch every Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday. I'll be live streaming 3 days a week. We've been playing a lot of spooky games for Halloween, and God, I can't wait till that's over. It's just incredibly stressful, but to be honest, it's been fun. We're having a really good time. A lot of Phasmophobia, Dead Space. I don't know what I'm gonna do next, but we'll figure it out. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter, by the way, at Metal Gear Mando. And as always, thank you so much for watching, and until next time, stay safe, and I will see you in the next video.
Kissing goblins, ingratiating goblins, in bed with a goblin. Kissing goblins, ingratiating goblins, in bed with a goblin. Dump it. Charging.